All right, there we go. All kinds of buttons going on. James is over here asking me questions, and I'm like, wait a second, hold on. I'm trying to pull everything up. I was like, wait, I gotta do this. I gotta do this. Gotta do this. All right, James, the giveaway is running now. You can enter for your chips. I hadn't gotten to that button yet. Why do I still hear noise? Huh. Hold on, guys. I have something up somewhere else. Oh, there we go. All right. Sorry, I got all kinds of buttons everywhere. I must have hit like a macro or something and we went backwards. All right, James, tickets are in. Go ahead and do it again. I had to go ahead and add that on there. So you should be good now. All right, so obviously, here, let me go down and hit the all. I forgot to update this. All right, so this is what we got so far this morning. Not a whole lot. 8:30 is about the only time we have really any good news today. And when I say good, I mean personal income and personal spending. It can be okay. Um, PCE price index is all right, but it's not really picked to be anything different. Um, and then revised consumer sentiment, because it's revised, it's kind of not really, it's not the big one that people are looking for. This is just a slight adjustment on there. I never really kind of understood why they always did this. Well, you know, here's the revised version, right? Um, inf- uh, Inflation expectations also is kind of interesting. Last time it was, previously it was 3. Um, I don't know. We're not really seeing inflation yet. Again, that's more of a gold story, but not quite seeing it there yet. No, that's basically it. 8:30 is going to be the big thing this morning. We'll see what kind of we have lining up for that. And like I said, it's not even the best Friday morning trade. Friday morning news that we can have. As you can see, last 24 hours, besides the pound yen, everything is pretty much flat at this point. It's funny, updating the knockout brackets today. I'm like, yep, those 4 are still from earlier in the week, and those 4, yep, those still are 4 earlier in the week. So that's really kind of an interesting gauge when you look at knockouts. And you're like, yeah, look, none of these are broken, or one of these is broken. You just don't have the movement. So as you can see, in 24 hours, euro has only moved 15. Pound minus 36. Again, a little bit of pound weakness, and that's exactly what we're seeing on this side. And I talked about that earlier, as I can see, at least in like the short term, an area, a time of pound weakness until we get, the official kind of Brexit, what things look like after that, etc. I think it's going to be kind of a bigger deal, kind of like a lull before the storm, if that makes sense. Dollar yen down a little bit, dollar Swiss down a little bit. So again, you see a little tiny bit of dollar weakness over here. Again, a little bit of strength versus the CAD. That one is more or less flat right now, kind of choppy back and forth. And then Aussie up 12. I mean, that's really nothing. Euro pound is probably Euro pound and pound yen are probably the two most telltale up here right now. Again, minus 38. It's not a huge number, but again, it is showing some pound weakness, and that is also corroborated by what we see over here, which is tiny, and then minus 88 in 24 hours. So that's really what we have, is just basically the pound. And you can see there's no, the quarterly, bulletin is the only thing. This is all just, this is just market pricing the pound correctly where it should be priced. Okay. As far as kind of news, I love this. Bad news fuels dollar recovery. Which, again, Australia, not here. Investors, wrestle with notion that more COVID cases are coming. Yeah. And he won't do it. Dictating amount of humans report investors. Um, mm, Not really. I like this one too. Pandemic growth picks up, but economic reopening continues. Um, Sharply few Americans say U.S. in economic depression. Yeah. So, yeah, this is like kind of, and I mentioned earlier, this is kind of what's been dominating the headlines this week, is all the new cases. Where is it? Do I still have it up? I may have shut it down. Yeah, I may use the wrong one. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, right there. So, like, you click on this and you see things like this out here. right? Record new cases, and I'm actually in a battle with my the boy's mom because we have a tournament on the 11th, and she just decided last night, 10 days from the tournament, that she's like, no, I don't think it's safe anymore. They're not allowed to go. It's like, well, those are two of our starters. I'm not going to have enough kids to play with that because you want to go visit, you want to go on vacation, and you're worried about them bringing it with you. Like, seriously? But, looking at this, record totals, right? California, Florida, and Texas. And I think the title says it all, right? Young adults are fueling the coronavirus. Now, I love you guys in Texas, but why is it that people are streaming things of bars with like 100 people shoulder to shoulder in there? It's like, come on, guys, be somewhat responsible. And that was actually in Texas. Um, Somebody was online. They streamed on Instagram, and then the state officials found out and promptly shut it down. But I'm like, come on, guys, let's be a little bit smart about this, right? But yeah, same thing. Young adults are fueling this with going to beaches, going to parties, going to bars. Yep. No respect for the elderly. I'm telling you, no respect for the elderly. But that's kind of what we're seeing. Um, we do not give a crap about the meter of our redneck dash. James is like, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it big. We're gonna have the biggest totals. Yeah, James. Yeah, so again, I mentioned earlier, that's going to be what drives a lot of this. That's probably why you're seeing, the markets kind of respond the way that they are, right? I would say that yesterday wasn't a big day. I mean, yesterday was more flat. We had a big push down from kind of some of those highs, but yesterday was more or less flat. I mean, there's been some smaller time trades in here, some smaller things that we could do, but for the most part, nothing really happened yesterday. It wasn't. It was a good day to be, slave labor for mom, right? Um, I moved more cabinets and made a couple different dump runs yesterday. It was just kind of like, oh, I mean, her kitchen looks great. But yeah, I must have went up 40 or 50 different flights of stairs yesterday. So I can feel it in my legs today. I'm just not cut out for that kind of stuff. But all right, so that's what we have. So again, 8:30 is going to be the big time. We'll see in 20 minutes. And again, these are more kind of like early morning pops because the media is not going to be like, oh my God, personal spending was up or down. Or, they're not. It's not one of those things. So typically this will be trader based, and then again, these are setting up a lot of the 10 o'clock reversals this morning. The consumer sentiment number is at 10, and again, that sometimes also assists that morning reversal. All right. I did have like kind of a not an epiphany, but I think the next, I'm always thinking about class ideas and new strategies to share and things like that. And obviously in the past I had the 30-minute trader. That was that entire program about just it only takes this much time each day. I was thinking about, and you guys let me know in chat whether you guys like the idea of this or not. But I was thinking about like the six, like something along the lines of like the 60-minute trading day or something like that. Basically, I always get asked what's the best time to trade. And there's all different types. Some people hate the opening. Some people love the opening, and these are all people that think the stock market is the best. There's the obviously yesterday, if you saw it, Joel was posting inside of Discord. There was the literal closing candles, right? The last 15 minutes, there was like more movement than we had saw for the last 4 hours. It was crazy, right? But again, that's another very popular time that you can trade. 10 o'clock, 10:30, is my favorite time with reversal times, Lunchtime, there's some opportunities that people don't think exist as well. Ernest is he's a magician with those lunchtime ones, right? So I was thinking about putting together something like that and talking about if you can dedicate yourself to just 60 minutes a day looking at charts, if you trade during these hours, and again, backing up, what type of opportunities exist during those time frames and maybe break it up that, okay, it's here and here. Use this strategy or these strategies during these times to trade these things. What would you guys think of something along those lines? Like I said, it just seems like, too many people ask that question. I'm just tired of answering it. So it's kind of like, if that's what people want, that's what we give them. When I was in Panama City last week, it was like COVID never happened. Yeah. Well, other people have said that as well. Yeah. I've heard that from other people. Yeah. See, my big qualm right now with the ex, or I not ex because I'm married, but the boy's mother, right, the first wife, is she's like there's gonna be so many people that it's gonna be uncontrollable. I'm like, well, coaches have to wear masks, the kids have to wear masks when they're not on the field. She's like, but the spectators, they just have to stay 6 feet apart. I'm like, yeah, but it's outdoors. It's not like she was telling me, she's like, oh, let me bring Scanner up. She's like, even professional sports are canceling. I was like, that's because they have a stadium of 30,000 people sitting shoulder to shoulder. We are outside at a field. Like, you don't get much better than that. At a field. But she's worried that, like, the kids will bump into another kid in a game. And I'm like, oh my God. They're in lacrosse. They're covered in a sheath of padding. I'm like, we don't even touch the ball. The net is the only thing that touches the ball. The referee is the only person on the field that will actually touch the ball. But she's worried that they're like somebody's going to cough on them when we're playing lacrosse, and then they're going to become carriers. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm dealing with right now. I'm like, but you're going and doing Pilates? Seriously? Yeah, these are the battles you face when you have children in two households. Just so you guys know, don't get divorced, or don't get married, or don't have kids. There's a lot of different things in there you guys could do. All right, look at the scanner. So obviously, guys, we have changed the scanner times down because it is now intraday trading. And again, 8 o'clock is always an interesting time to look at the scanner just because, it's dealing with a European session, and it kind of, it helps until about the U.S. Open, and that's when U.S. traders step in and things start to move a bit differently. All right. So looking right now, you can see that, the majors are showing a bunch of different setups on the 4 hour. So it looks like 4 hours are popular. We'll look at a lot of the 4 hour charts and see where they are at. 30-minute, 5-minute, obviously there's not a lot going on at 8, so those have kind of shrunk. Look at the European basket. European basket is also showing us a few different setups with Aussie, CAD, Pound. We're seeing continuation pattern on the Euro Yen. We'll look at that. And then obviously an anchor break to the downside on the dollar, the Euro dollar. And we'll check that out. I'm going to check that. Yeah, that's interesting. Look at the CAD basket. So CAD basket is basically set up or anchor break across the board. Dollar CAD is anchor break down, meaning that it is going up. But as you saw at the top, right? Dollar CAD's moved 15 pips in 24 hours. So let's not get too excited. Again, that's on a 4 hour basis. But let's not get too excited about the movement. That was just a pop and a retrace. But some of these other ones in here, CAD Yen, I think I still have CAD Yen on this platform. So we'll look at that one too. Aussie. Let's see. Aussie isn't offering too much movement. And again, the anchor break down, it's moved 14. It's funny. It's moved a total of 14 pips up in the last 24 hours. Even though this is an anchor breakdown, you can see it's more or less just kind of going. It's just a slow grind. We'll look at this one, but I wouldn't pay too much attention to this anchor break. Look at the pound, though. The pound is the most telling. And again, this coincides with what we see up top. You can see that we have the minus 40 here. We have the euro pound being up, which again is pound weakness. And then pound yen is down 90. Well, look at everything over here. Everything is down, confirmed. Pound CAD is the only one that's not right now, but it was a second ago. So again, full confirmation to the downside of pound weakness on the 4 hour, and that's coinciding with what we see on the daily as well. Pound US and pound Swiss also are showing on the lower time frame. So this one may be something to look into today. Why I'm looking at this right now also, with this being so negative today, again, European traders are done in a few hours, so this will also start to slow down. But with this much negativity and overall the pound on the week kind of got beat up a bit, that could lead us into what we see on Sunday. And again, it may be a continuation, but a lot of times when we see that kind of week-long kind of push to one direction, you tend to see a bit of a retrace the week after. So again, that may be something that we, that may be something to keep our eyes on for a Sunday. And again, being so negative, we're going to find demand zones. It's going to put us into the larger time frame demand zones. And again, that leads us into Sunday night trades. All right. So with that said, let's jump over the charts real quick. Boom, over here. Oops. I was obviously using that monitor for the scanner. Let me bring that back over. All right. I feel like it's funny when I went to 3 monitors, right? I was like, man, I'm never going to use this much real estate. Now that I have 3 monitors and the middle one is actually, the middle bottom one is split in half, I'm like, man, I need more monitor space. It's crazy. Who knew streaming took up so many monitors? All right, so Aussie dollar. Big thing in Aussie dollar right now, you can see, I wouldn't say that this is really so much of a trending market at this point. Again, I'm making it so we can see it better, but it's more like this is kind of what the eye should be kind of trained on looking at. It's rather flat on the hourly. We'd marked off a zone that we hit before, and again, we took a little bit of a bounce and then kind of rode through it a little bit. As soon as we breached the bottom, again, it kind of popped up. But we're still kind of in the same area. As I mentioned in chart school the other day, I'm still okay with this top area. And again, there's 2 levels up there. but 69.56 is an area that I'm looking for. Being 80 pips away, probably not going to hit it today. We don't really have news that is earth-shattering enough to make it that far. And vice versa, kind of the sideways movement. 18.20 on the bottom was good. Even on the 30-minute here, I mean, you can see there's been a small 30-minute zone that we've been bouncing off of. But let's see. It's only 6 pips. It's it's an all right zone. I would say it's okay. I mean, again, you can see it was already pushed to the brink, and it's just kind of floating around it right now. I wouldn't say there's anything equivalent on the downside. So for this one, it appears that it wants to continue to push lower. Looks like some dollar strength in there, but I don't know if there's going to be any big movements on this one today. Maybe at 10 o'clock we'll get a little bit of movement with that revised U of N inflation expectations. Because again, inflation is going to be gold, which will kick back into the Aussie. But again, that would be some Aussie strength, not some weakness. So it depends if it can counteract the dollar. So for me right now, guys, I don't know if there's going to be a trade set up in Aussie dollar today. It's going to depend on if we get some movement. And I really do hope it grinds this direction and we can get it open. This 30-minute zone right here, this is where we opened last week. You can see for the week, this is where we started, right? Getting all the way up, hit a level, and now we're kind of coming all the way back down and retracing it on the week. So this zone has proven that we have some buyers. If we can get down to 68.20, again, that could be a great Sunday morning trade or a Sunday afternoon trade. If we can get enough movement today to kind of position us for a gap into that zone on Sunday. Okay. All right. So this guy, Aussie Yen. Aussie Yen has also had something similar. Now this one did pull away pretty decently and then kind of pulled back up. So this was probably a little bit easier of an entry, but again, it was pretty early morning on this. Actually, this would have been last night at about midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, my time, is when this one would have triggered. It's just kind of gone down since that. Kind of the same scenario at the bottom. A lot of wicks down here, kind of just, probing lower, but not really anything clean, not really any great basing levels. You guys can see we still had a Harry Potter trade set up from earlier in the week. We haven't gotten back to it yet. I mean, this one has been rather slow retracing back. And again, Sunday open here, ran all the way up, grabbed the zone that was... We had something a little bit higher, so I mean, this was kind of a front run position, and it just never made it back up there. It just started to go, and now, again, for the last, 2 days, we've been more or less in the same range. The Harry Potter still holds firm. Again, we'll see where it goes into next week if we can continue this bearish play in this one. If it pushes to the downside, again, it's a very small zone. I mean, you're not talking about a lot here. About 10 pips on that one total. Not even 10 pips, actually. You're looking at about 8 with a buffer. And... I think that's probably the most valid thing. The first clean long in this one I have is 72.82 down here. But again, taking the short, running it back to the zone, the 1 to 3 is sitting right here. So it's in a good position, right? The 1 to 5 actually isn't bad either. About the only reason why a 1 to 5 wouldn't work is if it literally just grazes at the top of this zone and then turns and bounces. It's an okay zone, but I don't know that it's going to be that rock solid because, again, you can see the wicks did push down, although they are ascending, right? But they ascend, and the last wick is here, which is just a little bit below where the 1 to 5 target is. So in this Harry Potter, the 1 to 5 is probably a decent target as well. And again, marked it off for next week, starting at 73.17. Euro Yen. All right, so Euro Yen is into a zone. As you guys can see on the scanner, or we talked about on the scanner, this one was in a downtrend confirmed. And it is, right? Now, we are bouncing off of a zone. The last time the price was in this zone, this was that Navarro spike, I believe. We did have a nice reaction, although this was pretty emotional down. I think on the 30-minute, you can see a little bit better. Yeah, emotional down, the Navarro spike, boom, right back up again. And you can see on the 30-minute, that's the zone that we just bounce out of. Now, this would be a true counter trend trade because it is, I mean, there's no debating this one to the downside that we are definitely pushing lower. With the fact that, again, European traders are exiting the market rather soon, and if they kind of took a half day, guess what? They're going to be kind of getting out of the market now. If they were allowing this European weakness to happen, the only thing we have controlling this one is going to be the yen, right? And we got a couple hours before this one really kicks in. So it's a zone. It's a zone that we've seen buyers step in before, but unfortunately, it's not the farthest. It's not kind of the distal area. It's about 2/3 of the way down. So, I mean... you could take it as a valid entry, but with the timing of it, I don't know that I would take it right now in a 30-minute. If it was around a 10 o'clock where I'm expecting a reversal, yes, but 8:30 is not really a major reversal time. So it's kind of one of those things that it's got a long, slow grind down, and again, it's going to probably find some orders a little bit higher and then make another push down with another zone right below it. So, and for me too, I'm going to put, there's a zone, here's the zone that I like. I'd kind of refine that zone a little bit, right? Not use the entire green. And that level's coming in at 119.65. Okay, 119.65. That would be an area where I'd be looking for maybe around 10, right? Let's see, it's about 30 pips from now. So yeah, we could definitely cover that distance and then be around there around 10 o'clock this morning. That would give us a nice little reversal pattern from that range. But right now, I would not be taking it long off of this. I just don't think, there's a decent zone actually right above it. I don't think we'd get a 3-to-1 in there. And again, European traders are on the way out the door. It's the weekend, and we need the yen to move this one. All right, so watch out for 119.65. The big guy, pound yen. So again, pound yen is down about 86 in 24 hours. You can see that it, from where we were yesterday, we're up in this range. So again, nice push down. Since that time, it's been having some issues, especially with this minor zone here. It's not only hit it and popped, it came down and hit it again and popped again. Although the push is not going as high. So I'm wondering if the sellers are stepping into the market on this one. This one kind of runs into the same thing. It's a zone lower, right? But is it the lowest zone? Like, is it the distal zone? The answer is no. It's down here, and again, the zone actually probably should be formed back in this area. Is probably more where I'd use it. And again, this was actually a retest of this level of basing. And we're close. We're close. It's going to depend what type of stabilization we form above. Again, there are some buyers in here, but with the pound starting to run out of gas right now, I typically like for it to be kind of, at an extreme level. Something low here. Something that we can, something that's going to give some oomph, right? As you guys know as well, one of the things we see typically on Fridays is one of the 3 sessions is the mover. Right here. Oops. There's your European session. Okay. So we've really had a lot of the movement already in the European session for this pair. Without any news at 7 and being Friday, it starts to you start to like, are we going to run into this now? Okay. And we may. Okay. Now, all hope is not lost. These zones, even though they're not all the way at the bottom, the distal zones, right, or the top, they do have some valid kind of, things that we can focus on, right? Again, Sundays is always on Fridays. I'm typically only trading if really basically if at all until maybe 10, 11 o'clock, and that's it. But what I'm looking for typically on my Friday analysis is where can price move from the rest of the day and where can it open. Okay, so there's a couple things that I'd be looking for opening prices on Sunday. Obviously, if we can get down to here to 113 or 131.90, that's a nice little entry, right? Even if this kind of does a little bit of a bounce over here and we can open down here, especially in this white zone down here, that could also be a long, again, reversing from a negative week into a positive week next week. Okay, so that could be another area, again, same area in here, but around this 132.24. Top side, there's not as much clean. I mean, if we kind of come back over here, this isn't a horrible level, but there's not really too much here. There's a little bit right in this area, right? Again, these wicks are heading right to the downside. It came back up, it based in that level, and then punched its way back down again. So, that may not be a Sunday. It's not a huge range. We're only talking about 35 pip range. This would really have to go flat to not hit either of these two. But again, those could be either, opening either of those two on Sunday night could be interesting trade setups. All right. On a grander picture, though, you guys can see we're not quite at the bottom yet. We got some room to run. This is an area that's been touched a few different times down here, but it's been pretty valid, right? We pushed it to the brink, barely touched, and it's been a pretty interesting zone down here at 131.80. So, there's definitely some buyers below where we are. We'll see if we can get that pop that, we've been talking about. And again, beyond that, you can see that there's a little base here, little base here. So, many more kind of intraday plays on this one than anything else, right? But most of the movement in this one, let's see. Most of the movement started at basically 1 o'clock in the morning is when we left that zone. And then to where we are right now was about 6 o'clock in the morning. Pure European session play right there. And that's probably going to be most of the movement in this one. Okay. Pound dollar. Now, pound dollar is one that we had a Harry Potter setup on. This is one of those ones at the entry on this one, which is it was just horrible, right? It was very difficult to get in. This was a fast pop in and out, didn't really work for us. This one kind of came down and kind of didn't quite give us the entry and pull up, right? Kind of went over, went lower again, and again did come back up and use that zone and push that zone to about a 2-to-1 before popping back up again. And again, this was more of a news-based spike, but you can see at this point it has come down and hit our full profit target. So again, had this been one that you had taken with knockouts, you probably would have gotten stopped on this kind of peak. But if you had taken a binary longer term, again, we were good on this one for the most part. But yeah, this little chop up in here kind of ruined the 1-to-3. We were up at 2-to-1, 1-to-2 actually, I guess, was the best. But again, this is not the cleanest entry, but I wanted to leave this on here to show you kind of how this one worked out. Again, this was a no entry, right? Technically, this is where we wanted to enter. This is the symbol. This is kind of the direction that we wanted. We wanted the break, the pop up, and then the fall. This one kind of did a little double hit before it hit and then came lower. So not the ideal kind of candle formation to be able to get this one on a full entry, but it did end up hitting its full profit target. So at this point, you can erase it, obviously. Again, it's been chopped through. We don't need it anymore on here. So we can take this one out. Areas I look for now. Again, looking up and to the left, you can see that the indicator has marked off a small level of basing right here around 124.30. It's an okay area. Again, it to the left, it kind of was a zone, right? But it came up, it dropped, it based, and then kind of hammered down again. The way that it exited, the velocity it exited, is kind of what set that one off for the indicator. So would I take that one intraday? Probably not, but that could be a valid one on Sunday night as well. Looking at kind of the great areas, looking up to the left, there is a level of basing right here. Which is all right. It's not horrible. It's what turned it around here. That one's okay. And again, that may be a potential Sunday. But I think for the most part, I think the best looking one that we have right now is going to be this piece up here at 125.18. It did come back up. I mean, I guess technically it is off of this zone, right? But again, it exploded. It did come back up and explode off that zone. So again, the aggressive entry on the top would be 125.18, or again, the one the zone that was actually originally formed was 125.29. So depending on if you're aggressive or conservative, you can take either of those two. Downside, you'll see that we had a level. There was a 30-minute level kind of sitting in here, but yeah, probably. Let's see. It's about 50 pips down. I don't know if we're going to be able to cover that 50 today. Again, there's a little bit of a zone here, a little bit of a zone there. It's already moved 34 pips to the downside so far today. I don't know that I would take this. By the time we get here, unless the 10 o'clock, unless this 8:30 news is just, let me see what it is real quick. I'm not seeing any reaction off of it, so come on, check. It was kind of mixed. Personal spending was not quite as high. Instead of being 8.9, here, I'll bring it in. Instead of being 8.9, but then you had the personal income, over here. It was supposed to be -6, but it's not as bad. So again, not as bad, worse than expected by a little bit. And then again, the overall, price index was up slightly. So, kind of split. Nothing that I would say that we're going to have just insane movement today. Don't know that this will get down, and by the time it does get down to this level, it's probably going to be a bit late in the day. You're not going to unless you want to hold over the weekend, but typically I wouldn't be interested in, especially the pound. I'm not interested in holding this one over the weekend. So keep your eyes out on this one. Again, if we can pop up to this 124.29, that's actually an area that I wouldn't. Let's see, how much do we got on that one? That's about 30 pips. That could be a potential 30-minute entry, and that would look something along those lines. Okay, if we can grind up over the next 2 hours, 10:30, that could be an intraday reversal period as well. Again, we've been down, and like I said, I just think this one will be too far. That's 50 pips in the next hour and a half. Maybe a bit far. I don't know. Maybe it does it. But I think if anything, we have more of a chance of going back up. So, top or bottom on this one, 124.29, 123.45. Euro pound. So Euro pound actually just left an area up here. We had a zone. This one kicked in about 4 hours ago. Again, we're seeing this one. It's down about 41 in 24 hours, and you can see that this one is rallying, kind of back up again, right? This is a about 12 pip rally, so it was a bit higher than that. I don't know that I would probably not enter this zone now. Like I said, I think this one is going to have a hard time hitting its 3 to 1. Oops, not that. Right there. I don't know that it's going to hit its 1 to 3 today, obviously. Just because, again, timing of it. Being 8:30 in the morning, there's only a couple hours left to go for both of these economies. And again, Europe will drop out a little bit earlier than the UK traders will. I think it's starting to run out of steam. So I don't know that this level will be valid for Sunday night. It's been pushed pretty deeply already, and again, it had another here, so not super clean. And looking on the 4 hour, we can see it is high. We are quite high on the curve, so it's kind of set up. But again, bringing up one level higher, you can see that there is. Here, I'll just bring it down to this. The overlay. You guys can see this, but right here. Here's where a daily zone comes in. Actually, let me go back to the. Yeah, that's actually, and that's the top one. Hold on, let me grab the bottom one. Right there. So here is a daily wick over wick, and you can kind of see on the 4 hour what we've been stuck in. Right there. So it's an interesting level. Like I said, as much as I'm like, you can see that it's really been sucked in the same level on the daily. The last time that it was here, it dropped, and again, that gave us the wick over wick, and then it continued to push down. So it's in the same zone, right? We're kind of stuck in that same area. I don't know. I feel like it needs to go a bit higher, right? I feel like it wants to go higher on this one. So again, you could potentially trade it, but timing is of issue on Fridays. Probably the least favorite day to trade is because we're running out of gas. But again, if you needed to take something this morning, or you really wanted to take something in the euro or the pound, you liked what you saw in this one, this is a valid entry. The risk on it is rather small. The risk is about 13 pips, so it's not even a whole lot of risk on this one. The 1 to 3 target is in an okay position. I would like it a little bit higher, probably about there. I don't know if you guys can see that, just a little bit higher. The top of this white, or the top of the red candle, is where I'd be looking to kind of exit this position. This I'm not as worried about, this little pullback. It's trying to find some sellers, but that puts you about 2 to 1, almost 2 to 1 on the downside. Again, it would be a break-even trade if you get entry off that one. Okay. All right. Euro dollar. So euro dollar, we had kind of a short position up here at 112.59. We're kind of pushed a bit away from it. We're still about 36 pips, but you can see how much sideways movement this one has had. 17 pips in 24 hours. So this one is kind of flatlined at this point. Hasn't really done a whole lot. It's kind of run out of gas. Again, not tons of US data yesterday. I don't even know that we're going to be able to cover the 36 pips up really today. Again, up to this white zone. That would be right here. Yeah, it's about 36 up. I don't even know if we're going to get up there, but I would use that as a target for this weekend. Okay, I do think that would be a Sunday night target. Again, extending that across here. Again, if we can manage to grind our way up and get close, opening up here into this zone, again, that would be an interesting short. On the opposite side, probably the same thing. Let's see. That one's about 30 pips to the downside. That one we may get the challenge. That one. I'm trying to delete some of the old. Oops. Let's see. We may. I don't think I'll take a long off that zone. So we based here. We dropped pretty deep into it. We dropped pretty deep into it again. But it's not a Harry Potter candidate because we have a zone below. Let me drop this. Let me go one higher. All right, now I can get a sense. It's about 55. All right, so Sunday night trades on this one. Again, we have that zone down here at 111.97, but it's been here a few times, and it is a larger zone. It is inside the 4 hour zone, but that's a gigantic zone, right? gigantic zone. So we saw sellers come in low. Areas I'd be looking for on Sunday, again, 111.68 would be ideal, but I don't know that will, I don't think that will clear this zone right here. So I'm thinking, again, I got to say it's Sunday, but I'm thinking 111.80 is probably our entries on the bottom side for Sunday night. And again, you can see it, again, on an hourly basis. This is kind of why I'm looking at it to be like, love it, right? Here's areas where we saw basing and dropping, right? Strong pressure off. Same thing down here. And we're sitting smack in the middle on a Friday with no real news or anything planned for the rest of the day. So I think that's, going to matter the most on that. Again, Sunday night, 112.58, 111.80 on the downside. Yeah, James. So far, nothing I'm in love with right now. Yeah, so far right now, everything has been Sunday night gap plays at this point. ATR has weekend. Yeah, the ATR is weekend. Yeah, on most things the ATR has. Again, just because it's kind of a dead week. I mean, dollar CAD had some huge days, right, where it was like 110, 112, but now today it's in 24 hours it's 11, which really kind of sucks the ATRs back down again. Even this one, I mean, this is down at 96, and you can see it's still, it's still holding slightly above its, historical average, which should be down in this range. So it's still slightly higher, but some of that has to do with in here, right? It's definitely, the swings are definitely getting smaller. All right, so dollar CAD. Dollar CAD is boring. Look at this thing. So this has moved 12 pips in 24 hours. You can see it's basically just been sideways. We haven't even really gotten entry top or bottom. This one, there could actually be a potential trade off of it. The zone it's about 15 pips to the top side. This 136.69, there is a small position in this one. Again, let me take the overlay off. There we go. Pop that in. There is a trade there, although I don't know that you'll be able to make it to the full profit target on that one. This one could be one that you get in. Again, we could definitely be here at 10. If you get into this position, I would close this position down before you go into the weekend. I think there'll be some news this weekend that will give us gaps. Like I said, the totals have been kind of going up. Those are the totals reported now. I do think the totals will go a little bit higher this weekend. And again, that's what them, they'll be like, oh God, it's going to be bad. The market, yeah. There'll be a lot of talking heads and they'll need something. There's nothing really else to talk about besides the staggering new numbers, right? So if anything, I think this would be an intraday short if you're looking for something. 136.70. It's not my favorite trade setup, but it is a zone that is valid on the 30-minute. It is close enough in proximity that in the next hour and a half, we could get up there for a 10 o'clock kind of push to the downside. 1 to 3, I do think will be interesting unless there is some type of really unexpected news that comes out. I think it'd be difficult to get to the 1 to 3. So if you do get short this position, me personally, I would close it out. And I don't even, again, I want to see what the formation looks like on its way up there, how it grinds up before this one even enters. But yeah, you could take it, but I don't think 1 to 3 is going to happen. Make sure you get out before, right? Sunday night trades on this one. This could be a Sunday night entry if we popped into here for Sunday night. Vice versa. This could be, I could... I could be sold on that one on the downside. This guy. So Sunday here or Sunday here. Either of those two pops into those zones above 36.71 or at 36.15. I could be looking for sells or buys out of that one on Sunday night. This one is not bad. There's a base over here, and again, it had nice movement out of it. And it also coincides with what we see here on the hourly, this kind of retest. So yeah, that one may not be bad. So dollar CAD, I'm going to definitely, I'll keep track of these and, I'll have alerts set for those two. I think those two are definitely valid for Sunday night gaps. Dollar yen. So dollar yen. Dollar yen actually had some movement up. I don't know if it was a 4 hour or what it was. Yeah, it came up here and it just missed the 4 hour entry on this one yesterday. It was close. It was really close. We had an entry a bit higher, 107.72. There was a zone that was formed here. It got front run before. I'm like, all right, if it comes up, it could be good. Yeah, it just missed it, and it was a nice pullback down. So unfortunately, this was probably the trade of Thursday, 65 pips to the downside. On an hourly right now, you can see we just came off of a zone, but it's a zone kind of in the middle. Again, here was that big push down, and it retraced all the way back up again, which is what it was supposed to do, right? It did go slightly higher. I did think it would get stuck in this zone, but it did kind of hit and pull back and hit and pull back and went slightly higher and pulled back and then finally punched through before rolling. It kind of rolled, in this zone, which kind of makes sense. I mean, that's where the push was, but, really the entry was, here. And since that time, it just hasn't looked as good, right? It hasn't looked as good. That was where the peak was. I don't really like too much in this one. I don't mind this kind of umbrella hangover. There's a little bit of a piece right here, right? It didn't get pulled back up to, and again, it dropped at base, it dropped, it retested, and got punched down. That may be something, again, I'm going to look to see where price is. I don't think price is going to get up there. That's about 25 pips worth of movement, and this one doesn't really move that much this time of the morning without news. Any other morning, this would be a valid kind of setup for 10 o'clock if we had a little bit of a burst. Maybe. I just don't know if we can get up there, right? I just don't know if we can get that distance up. The 1 to 3 is fine. The 1 to 5 is probably okay as well. I just don't know if we're going to get the entry. All right. Now, downside, I like, and again, we need a little bit of help. I like this zone right here. Again, this one, it based, it popped, it dropped and went sideways and then exploded out of it. I like this one for Sunday, 107.52. It's going to be too far today. Again, we would need to have something pretty catastrophic. That's moving about 44 pips from now till basically noon when it flatlines. Could it go? Sure. It's going to have issues with this zone right here at 106.79. So I don't think we'll get that far down. But again, Sunday night gap targets, or Sunday night gap entries, guys, I would be looking at 107.16, 106.52. For a 10 o'clock reversal, you could have a potential turn off of this one. And I guess in reality, let me see on the 30 minute. No, it's a double. I don't think I would take that off the downside, off a 30 minute. And again, kind of the same problem we saw in some of the other pairs. Here's the upper end of the range, here's the lower end of the range, and we're smack dead in the middle. It's just not as exciting to be able to play these, right? And what I was looking for when I dropped down was, okay, what does this zone look like? Is there a nice little area? And as soon as we dropped to the 30 minute, it disappeared, and this is a double. The wicks are exactly the same, so it's not showing us a level of demand there. So kind of invalidates itself, right? I would say overall today, this one does look like it wants to be more negative than positive. It didn't really rally back up and didn't really turn in a great area. So it does look like this one wants to push lower. But nothing that I like. Nothing I would trade. Oh, excuse me. All right. Swiss. So, as you guys know, I've been on a mission to get additional knockout brackets, given to us, right? I didn't like the news that we're going to be forced to the new platform, which I think is a downgrade for Nadex. Why they have the dollar Swiss in knockouts, I have no idea. As you guys can see, I mean, these are the knockouts. I mean, this one formed, 5 days ago when this one was printed, it stayed between the two brackets. So I'm not sure why people would trade it when it doesn't have the ability to break brackets, when the dollar CAD and the Aussie dollar were much, much better. This one, it has some good setups in it, right? But right now it's not really doing a whole lot. It's just kind of moving sideways. So there's been some interesting entries in there. Zones that I'm looking for, again, are probably these two lines, top and bottom. I drew these, Wednesday night, right? I drew them Wednesday night, and we're still kind of we're actually at the same exact place we were Wednesday night. But 95.20, 94.39. Both of these are still valid entries, top and bottom. They can also be used for Sunday night gaps as well. So price gaps into either of these zones, again, it would be sells from top, buys from bottom, 95.20, 94.39. Okay? Now, jumping across to the indices. So, indices-wise, you can see on the 4-hour, not a whole lot. I can drop it to an hourly and be like, hey, what do we got here? Well, not much. It literally skirted along this thing yesterday, right? We had a little bit of a pop, and then it did nothing but go flat again on us. So, I still do have this Harry Potter trade to the downside. I do think that's still a valid entry. It needs to drop a little bit now, like I said. When it was flirting around here and it's bouncing, it's like, come on, break it. Right now we're floating in. Again, we're not at the highs, we're not at the lows inside of this, smaller time frame curve. We're kind of sitting right in the middle. So it's kind of boring right now, at least on the hourly basis. As you can see here, we got kind of two entries and it did bounce off that zone. I really wanted to take this negative. As you can see, there was longs that you could have taken off of that zone. I really wanted to stay with the trend and kind of play that negative basis, not play the reversal. And it pulled up, and you guys can see why it stopped here, right? That's why it stopped here. So it is right now currently more in a short position on its way back to the downside. I would say, if anything, it looks like it wants to run kind of this direction. And it has the room. It's not going to hit anything until this area, most likely on the downside. So it has room to run. U.S. traders are just starting to wake up and just starting to step into the markets. But it's had some issues with this zone, right? And there's some above it. So I don't know that today will be one of those, all-time high days. It would really need a pretty big catalyst. I have to say I'm bearish this position today, right? I'm bearish. Like I said, I'm still, still have hope for the Harry Potter that he gets down that far. Again, if you need something pre-market, again, there would be your short. Okay? Yeah, it's all right. Looking at S&P. S&P broke down yesterday and then ended up popping off of it. So it did break through the zone. We did not get an entry, though. As you guys can see, it was a very fast spike in. And again, this was drawn on the hourly. You can see down, up. There was no real true basing level on this one. And it's still using that zone, the same zone, right? It came up. Look, hit it, came back down, went through, came back up again, went through, came back up. So, there was a trade entry about an hour ago. Again, very similar, right? Very similar to what you saw right now in the NQ. Oops. Right there. Okay. 1 to 3 target is fine. 1 to 5, probably okay. But this one as well, I would say I'm bearish for the day on this one as well. Unless something, some big news media release comes out that COVID is cured, unless we get that this morning, I do feel like this will come back down. I do think this is still a valid entry to the downside. With this turnaround on this area, I don't think we're going to get all the way back down here before the end of the week. That would be a gigantic day. I don't know if we'd be able to, we're going to put that in today. But again, this is still something that I'd be looking for. What I'd want to see now is kind of keep this on your radar, this zone here. Not as so much as an entry. And I'm going to move this and kind of stick this over here and kind of put it in the middle of the range as just kind of a reminder for next week. Okay, here's why I'm doing this. We know that it's kind of been drawn towards this white zone. It's hit it here, used it as a bounce, kind of went deeper again, went below it, kind of came back up again, right? Pulled in, went higher, pulled back in again, bounced. So it's been an area where, kind of an area of influence, right? Most likely, on the way back down, we are going to have some type of basing in this level. Okay. That basing, that drop-based drop, will be a higher quality drop-based drop. It could be a wick over wick on a larger time frame. That will most likely be a higher quality one because we've seen in the past, we've seen it have problems here, bounced here, and came back up again. So when it comes back down, it will form some type of basing level in this zone. It'd be highly unlikely that it's able to punch in one candle all the way through. It's going to base somewhere here. That's where you would establish your risk for a continuation trade to the downside. Okay? I'm not going to use the entire white zone. This is just an area of influence. When it bounces through, bases and drops, that's where... So I'm shrinking it right here to say, hey, wait a second. There's a target there. We need to find where is that entry. You'll refine it when it comes over in that level. So hopefully that makes sense for next week. All right. Dow had also a similar entry, right? This one also was on the 30-minute. And you guys can see this one is pretty close to hitting its 1 to 3. That hit about, what are we looking here? 8:30. This was about a 7 a.m. 7 a.m. ding on that one. And that was a valid entry. Again, this is a nice push away. You can see there's another zone that it actually bounced off of before. But this one, this drop, base, and big punch away, this was a nice little entry if you were to get into it. For those early risers, so I know James, you probably, you may have been short this one this morning. I know you are definitely one of the early risers / don't sleep guys. This would have been, for futures traders, if, put it this way, an older futures trader is already short this position, okay? because they play the early morning trades and they are out as soon as they can. The younger future traders that sleep till the opening bell, they're not going to catch this one. They've already missed this one for the day. I don't like as much in this one. I think this one actually has more buyers in there. There's a bit of an area here, a bit of an area here. On the hourly, you can see there's spikes, but again, this is a pretty decent pop from this level, right? There's a pretty decent pop from there. So I'd kind of keep my eye on that as far as, there could be somewhat of a reversal in the Dow on this one, in that range. And again, that's approximately, remember, my Dow data is off a little bit because it's ECN based. But approximately in that area, there could be a reversal at 10 o'clock. If it's going to reverse, that's where it's going to do it. But I wouldn't say that I'm like, yeah, I love this. I'm getting long right here. It's in the middle of the curve. Again, here's your distal area. This is more of a proximal target. It's sitting right in the middle. Yeah, like I said, best trade in the Dow happened a little while ago. Okay, and again, that's pushing down, and we're pretty close. It'll hit profit target in a bit. All right, gold. All right, so gold on the 4-hour. There was this big push, and everybody was like, yep, gold's going, gold's going. Well, gold is not going, right? So it put a failure to go higher in earlier this week, right? This was put in 2 days ago, right? Entry on that one on the 24th. Now, since that time, price dropped here on the 24th. We've basically been in that same little tiny range. Now, as you guys can see, there has been a smaller area here that's provided some trade setups, right? Sell, sell, sell. Buys on this one have been a little bit more difficult. On the hourly, you can see there's a zone down here, and again, this one's kind of been tested. On the 30-minute, there is a little bit more of an aggressive target in gold for gold buying. Honestly, either of these two is not horrible for intraday kind of trading, right? But we need some catalyst for it. I don't. Would I take this one long? Probably not. It's kind of smack in the middle. Again, we've seen sellers step in, right? Barely touched it, touched it a little bit more, but this has been a pretty solid level. Down here, again, it's been front run. This is a wick over wick, so it's a little bit more of an aggressive entry, but at least it's farther down on the curve. Again, the true entry comes in a bit lower than that. We're kind of smack in the middle. So, like I said, I like the extremes on either side, and I like it pulling back in. I like it when it's at the top or at the bottom. The middle for me is just not as much of an entry, especially in gold. On a Friday, again, this one, the market even ends earlier. So, again, there's even less time for gold today. The 10 o'clock number today does have inflation in the title, but it's a revised number, and it's not. I don't know how much we're going to see out of there, right? It'll be probably more consumer sentiment driven than it will be inflation, expectations. A lot of the expectations have been off. All right, so gold, not my favorite today either as well. Silver, there's a little bit of a zone up here on the hourly. If we can get up there, I do think that this is a valid entry. The last time it popped up, it had a very nice reaction to the downside. Again, something along those lines. The 1 to 3 is in a fine position. I'm okay with that. Again, make sure if you do get into silver, you are out of this before the end of the day. Metals are typically not something you want to be in over the weekend as well. Anything can happen. There could be all kinds of, drama, news release. Somebody invades somebody else. Somebody shoots a missile. Somebody is angry at somebody else. You never know. And again, anything that has to do with money, gold or silver, it tends to get a little funky, right? A little funky, but valid trade setup on the weekend, right? This would be a valid area for the weekend. I'd like to say that this one would be too, but I really want this to go short. I still have this same setup here that I'm looking for, that if price is able to get back down here, still looking to get short this position here. But this is a nice bounce. I can't deny that this was a nice bounce out of this area. It came down, and that is probably the best explosive candle minus this one here, which was the Navarro thing. Or that wasn't Navarro, that was farther back. But probably good for Sunday. I don't do too many Sunday gaps on silver. It's not one that I look at on the weekends, but either of those two is probably valid. But today, if we do get up in the 1794 range, that is valid. All right, CAD yen was another one I wanted to talk about. Again, CAD yen now, guys. You can see on the hourly, it's sitting inside of a zone to where we went. So here's where we opened, right, earlier the week, and now we're right back to it. So for the week, this one has moved currently up 8 pips. Basically, all that original early week movement, we got pulled right back into it. Kind of like what we did last week. So we know there are buyers that in this level. On a 30-minute, where you're able to kind of see where this one hit last week. Got to keep an eye on this one for this Sunday. Okay, I know not everybody out there is a currency trader, but for those of you that do know the Sunday night gaps that I talk about all the time, this one is kind of set up pretty interesting. Now, again, look how flat this is over the last 6 hours. There's two 30-minute zones right below where we are, right? You can see they're formed here and then much farther back. Both of those would be valid entries. And you can see last time this week, when we hit it, boom, that was the off to the races moment, right? We're at that same level again. So look for this one. Look for Sunday gaps. Ideally, I mean, if we can get down to 78, that would be awesome. Don't think we're going to go that far. I think it'll probably drop in the middle. If it drops into this zone, again, I'd be looking for longs out of that same level, because that's where the buyer stepped in last time. And again, it's been a valid level for a while on the 30-minute. Remember, too, when you're doing this, guys, the risk of the whole level is 19. Typically, wherever the price enters the zone, like when it gaps in, that's where your level of risk starts. So you're able to reduce your risk and not take the entire, 12, 13, 14, whatever pips. You could wait for a confirmation out the top. Like if it enters itself here, you could wait for a green, red, green as it leaves the zone, and that would give you a bit more confirmation to the top side. But it also increases your risk slightly. So again, your kind of call on how you want to handle those Sunday night. But this one, again, great position. 78, if we can get down to that level in a gap down, it's only about 30 pips, so we can definitely get down there with a gap. Nice little entry for the week. All right, so last but not least, let me pull up oil. So here is the oil chart from earlier in the week. So oil's really had just this one pop, and then again, basing, grind. We did not get the entry that we were looking for to the downside. Actually, we were looking for a break below, and all it did was it came down and it front run and popped back up again, and then just stabilized and based. Oil today, again, it does look like it wants to push to the downside. Most likely, I'm assuming this one, the way that it looks right now, will probably end the day most likely around 36.85 to the downside. This would be one I'd be looking at next week. Again, there is that continuation pattern to the downside, closing down here around 35. That's what it looks like right now. Things that could drive this lower, obviously seeing these big, COVID-19 new numbers is something that could drive it lower. People talking about reinstating closures of things also drives demand down. Again, that could be another factor why we're seeing this crash. But make sure, if you're going to get into this one, make sure it's in a level that you're looking for either a break of a prior level, like what we have here with this 36.85 to 35, or something a bit higher that's kind of proven itself, right? This base popped up and then collapsed. So, make sure it is a valid kind of area. Again, right now we're kind of in the middle. If I had to make a call today what oil looks like, I would say oil is going to be down for the day from the open. Okay. Yeah, so that's it. All right. I know on Friday mornings we also have some, newer people to the channel. If there's anything that you're looking at for today, I always like to give you guys an opportunity to ask to see. We've had people ask for different stock charts. I know like Carnival was one that people were asking for. That one ended up bouncing off the zone we saw and then ended up gapping past. So, there was a pretty much textbook kind of short in that one. Again, it was a continuation. It bounced up, went right back up into a sell zone, and then fell. If there's anything any of the new people in the zone are interested in seeing stock-wise, go ahead and type it in. For those of you that are familiar with the channel, I will drag this across for the tickets. We'll go ahead and do the ticket drawing. Again, if anybody wants anything else analyzed, I'll go ahead and look at it. But otherwise, I will give you guys one more minute. When it hits 60 minutes, I will go ahead and close the contest down for the morning. And as that's going there, I will pull the scanner across as well. So you guys can get a last glimpse of the scanner for this morning. But overall, again, James, I'm kind of in the same sentiment. There's not a ton this morning that I'm super excited about. I'll jump back on probably in about 45 minutes and kind of see where prices moved after the open, to see what's where. Like I said, 10 o'clock, 10:30 is great time. That's my personal favorite time. Nothing right now is showing me that, I love it. And I do. And James, it's funny. You would ask what that robot was for. Here, I'll show you what the robot is for. Again, we have about 30 seconds longer. Let's see. Where is it? I'll show you how I have the robot set up, what my testing looks like. Because you asked. Come on, open. All right, this This is what my testing looks like, James. So I have it set up for 30 minutes right now on all these pairs. Okay, this is the right profile. Yeah. See right here, 20 with the scored alert. So what I have it right now is it sends me alerts. Actually, let me reestablish thing. There you go. It sends me alerts for 10 o'clock reversals based off of all these time frames. Actually, this one should be the 30-minute there, 30-minute there. I was testing something out with the S&P and NQ. But yeah, so this is the testing, James, that is occurring right now. So what it's doing is at 9:30, 10 o'clock, what I'll do is I'll come back and look at this one. See how the D is clicked on all of them? You don't have the D on yours or the S and D. You just have, I think, the A's. This is the draw supply and demand zones where I click. But yeah, so what happens is, like at 10 o'clock, like right now it's 9 o'clock. This is coming into the range for the testing. So it'll send an alert over across the Euro. Also, it'll send an alert to the Discord channel, that zone. You guys don't have it on yours. I don't know if you guys can see it or not. On the left-hand side, you guys can see it right here. See how mine says zone alert? I don't think yours sees that because I'm the only one I think that has access to it right now. But what happens is it's kind of matching timing versus 30-minute levels because you guys know how that functions, right? You guys know how I love 10 o'clock reversals with 30-minute charts. Yeah, so that's what it's for. So like EuroCAD, like dollar CAD is kind of there right now. Euro Aussie is there right now. Looks like we got one down here as well for gold. Nothing else looks like it's set up right now. Everything else looks like it is just kind of flat. So yeah, just two today. But yeah, so that's what I'm tracking. All right, so where is it? Stream Elements. Let's go ahead and we will close the giveaway. So who won last time? It was Debbie, right? I feel like, yeah, Debbie won last time. She had the double, right? Whoop, let's bring this across. Whoop, no, not that. Get shrunk. All right. Where the heck is it? Right, there we go. Yeah. Will's like, add me. Yeah, so Debbie's going for 3, but Debbie did her standard, I'm going to win it with 1. And Ernest said, I'm going to stop you with 1 extra. So kind of funny how that works out. All right, so here we go. Giveaway is closed. Let's see who the winner is. Let's see. Now, wait a second, guys. We never talked about what happens if you win a third time. Because, again, it's never happened before, right? We've never had a 3 times winner. So I think because we went from 25 up to 100, I think if Debbie wins tonight, she gets a 250 edition is what we should do. Or this morning, I guess, right? So you get 25 for the first win. If you do back-to-back, you get an extra 100, so you get 125. And if you win tonight, she'll get 250. So I think that's what we're going to do. All right, so let's see. You guys ready? Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Oh, my God. Wow. Somebody give me the rigged. Wow. The first time ever 3 times winner is Debbie. Wow. And even Scrooge, his extra one against. Wow. Look at that. So mark that as complete. Well, this is going to get interesting. Look at this. Debbie gets her 250 is what I just said. Oh, look at that. My man just got replaced, and look at this. The women are, man, they are driving. Uh-oh. Look at this. Somebody spent some pip chips. She's 1 pip chip above Ernest. Somebody spent some pip chips. So I got to check that out. So Will is making some move, guys. He's getting secret. I forget how to look at that. Yeah, there's a way to look at it in here. I have to look at it. Is it dashboard? Oh, the settings? No, it's not that one. I'll have to find it. I think it's on the bigger one. Yeah, I'll have to check it later. So Will is secretly spending pip chips, Ernest. Just letting you know. He's spending some pip chips. So Ernest got that top spot again. She has to get one pip chip above Ernest. She will. That Russian is definitely Russian. All right, guys. So with that said, again, let me bring Scanner up one more time for anybody that wants it on the intraday basis. There we go. That's what we got going on right now. 4 hour, 30-minute, 5-minute. Nothing I was super excited about. I would check back in about 45 minutes. Give yourself one more 30-minute candle to see where the U.S. market open kind of pushes this. And then again, remember, reversals can happen at 10 or 10:30ish. Either of those two are popular reversal times. So again, you have about that 30-minute window where you're looking for zones on the 30-minute to kind of get hit for reversals for the day. Looks like the Euro Aussie is close. It looks like the dollar CAD is already starting to flip. So that's what you have. Watch those Sunday night gap levels, guys. Remember, chart school next week will be Monday night, Wednesday night at 9 p.m. It'll be Tuesday and Thursday at 12 noon, and then Friday at 8 a.m. So that way we're kind of spread across for the week. Next week, too, by the way, don't forget that next Friday... Next Friday is July 3rd. It is an interesting morning. And guess what we don't have that morning? Actually, we do have it that morning, but it's not really the best one. It's like the weakest non-farm of the year. But yeah, we have non-farm next Friday. So again, that's why we're doing 8 a.m. going into the holiday weekend. All right. So guys, with that said, I'm out of here. Good trading today. Like I said, stop back in 60 minutes. Check this, not stop back to the channel. I won't be here, but stop back, check the charts. Look for those reversals coming up. And have a good day. Take care.